Let's start with Yogi Berra. And when I say a slice of Americana, he really was. He wasn't just a baseball player, just a baseball coach, just a baseball manager. He was much, much more than that, wasn't he?
I thought he was one of America's great philosophers. And people say that. You think of Greek philosophers and the Roman philosophers, and you don't really think about Greek American philosophers. Will Rogers.
Sure.
Will Rogers had more great philosophy about this country.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain and Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra had more great quotes that have been re-uttered by people in politics. It's not over till it's over. By people in sports who will say, people that you and I will utter once in a while. I say all the time, nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded.
I've used that one plenty in my career. I love the one, baseball is 90% mental and the other half is physical.
He said to Hank Aaron one day, when Hank Aaron's, he said to Hank Aaron, you need to turn the label around, because the theory in baseball was you always hit the ball on the label, the heart of wood was on the label. And Hank Aaron turned to him and said, Yogi, I didn't come up here to read, I came up here to hit. But Yogi was once told, you're really ugly, and he said, it's a good thing I don't need my face to hit. So he came off the hill with Joe Garagiola in St. Louis. Yeah. People tend to, or don't know that he won a Purple Heart when he was in the military. And he started out as a left fielder. And he found out that he could make it to the major leagues if he became a catcher, so he worked to become a catcher.
He was cat quick as a catcher, which helped.
And he ended up being a left fielder. Yeah. I had an opportunity, I'll put it that way, when people don't realize that his last job was with the Houston Astros as a coach. And I talked to him when he was with the Astros, late 80s. And I sat down and had a great conversation, and people who thought he was some goof, it was like two goofs talking. No, it wasn't. I talked to him about going to the World Series 14 times in 18 seasons. And he told me, and I've just uttered this on Around the Horn, that his wife built the World Series into their budget every year. She just assumed that that was part of their budget. And people also probably don't remember. You remember the quotes. You remember that he was catcher. That he was a manager for 7 seasons with the Mets and the New York Yankees.
He won 3 World Series as a coach and or a manager with the Mets and the Yankees. So he had 13 rings altogether.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
And when we talk about him being a slice of Americana, I mean, think about this. Like, his parents come over from Italy as immigrants. So he's born on soil, and he is a first-generation American. He plays baseball, the all-American sport. He wins World Series. He wins MVP awards. He plays for the most storied franchise in maybe all of sports, the New York Yankees. He stays married to one woman his whole life. He has sons who end up playing Major League Baseball. He's in TV commercials. He has a cartoon character, a famous cartoon character named after him, Yogi Berra. I mean, is anybody more American? And as you said, he won a Purple Heart. He was at the invasion of Normandy. He served 2 years in the military. Is there anything more American than Yogi Berra? Anybody?
That's a great way to put it. I think that when you look back on his career and you look back on his lifetime dying at 90, one of his quotes was, two of his quotes, I go to everybody's funeral hoping they'll come to mine. Well, they are all going to go to his funeral. And so he was asked by his family, would you rather be buried in Montclair, New Jersey, where he lived for years and years? Would you like to be buried in St. Louis on the Hill, in a cemetery? Would you like to be buried right outside New York City? Montclair is. And he said, surprise me.
There's a quote I love of Yogi's. We mentioned some of the more famous ones. There's a great quote that's underrated. You never hear it mentioned. He said, the towels were so thick there, I could hardly close my suitcase. How about that? So, like everyone else in America, he stole towels, probably ashtrays and anything else he could get from a hotel room.
I was trying to search today whether he ever made an appearance in uniform in Denver. And I don't know whether he came to those Old Timers games. You were here.
Yeah, I don't remember him being there.
I think Barry Fay was trying to get him to come here because you know that he, and it was tough to do, he went against the grain of George Steinbrenner.
Oh, yeah, he stood up to the bully is what he did.
And he would not appear at Old Timers games there. So I'm trying to find out if he came to an Old Timers game here or in the 50s when the Bears were a farm club of the Yankees. I'm thinking the Yankees probably came here and played a game against the Bears. You know who did pitch for? I'll end my part with this story. I lied to my mother and my teacher, which are the two most sacred people in the world that you shouldn't lie to. On one day, October 8th, 1956, I lied to my teacher and my mother. There was a perfect game going on being pitched by Don Larson, who actually pitched for the Bears before he went up to the Yankees. And I'm listening to it on a transistor radio. And I go to my teacher and I tell her I'm really sick, that I'd just thrown up in the bathroom. And she said, well, okay, she felt my forehead. She said, you can go home. Went home, I told my mother, I lied to my mother also and said, my teacher let me out because of the perfect game. So I lied to my mother and my teacher. An image embedded in my mind that I will forever see until the day I die is Yogi Berra jumping into Don Larson's arms. And people don't realize that he didn't take his catcher's mask off. Every catcher since then on no-hitters and perfect games,
throws it up in the air.
He kept his mask on and jumped into the arms of Don Larson. One of the great images in the history of sports.
That segment brought to you by the Harmony Foundation, Colorado's premier treatment program for drug and alcohol addiction. They're just outside of Estes Park, very conveniently located on a beautiful 45-acre mountain campus. They are insurance friendly, so if you feel the need, harmonyfoundationinc.com.